She sat in her car just on the other side of our property. She was at the end of her rope. She was just trying to gather enough courage to walk inside. You see, she had lost her job, and as a result, she had lost her home. She had driven here with the last bit of gas that was left in her tank. She and her 12-year-old son were living on the street. They were living out of that car. Her mind was racing. So many times she had reached out for help. So many different agencies that were overwhelmed. She had been told no so often. She began to lose track of where she had gone to ask for help. With school about to start and no address to her name and no job on the horizon, she broke down right there in her car in our parking lot. And she began to cry. Tears turned to sobbing. Fear gave way to panic. She was overwhelmed. She could barely breathe. She gathered herself enough and got out of her car and closed the door and walked up the steps and opened the door to the Women's Resource Center. The first thing she remembers about walking through that door is that the person on the other side could sense her story without knowing the details. She was hugged. She was looked in the eye. She was told, hey, just breathe. It's okay. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like a human being again. She would tell you that the ladies she met, the volunteer counselors that she ran into, made her feel safe and at peace, even though her situation hadn't changed yet. She was ushered into a private setting. She was sat down at a round table, and she met with the counselors. They listened to her story, they prayed with her, and together they came up with a plan of action. Her immediate needs were met. Gas was put in her tank, food was given to her. She got a week into a hotel. And down the road, as she found employment, she was given 2 weeks worth of clothing for that new job. Her son was given school supplies and clothing for the school year. She received a comprehensive housing search, and as a result, she successfully found a private owner who was willing to rent to her and willing to let her stay right away. She was hooked up with a grant that paid for the deposit and the first month's rent. Well, Bailey, fast forward to today, and she's plugged into a church. She's successfully working. She's moved into her home, and her son is doing well in school. They are back on their feet. You see, what started out as a story of fear and desperation and hopelessness has become a story of grace and rescue and redemption. Now, this story I'm telling you isn't some random story that occasionally happens. 1,200 women each year have had appointments like this and conversations like this at the Women's Resource Center just this last year alone. So, how are you a part of this? Easy. Some of you volunteer as counselors here at the center, but it's also why I'm standing in a construction zone telling you this story. You see, behind me is the new Women's Resource Center and Counseling Center building. It's your ability to see how God is moving and to respond. It's your gifts. It's your generosity that is helping to fund the building of this building. This building that will one day enable us to walk alongside of 5,000 women each year. Listen, I'm proud of what you have done as you've faithfully given to God through Go Forward. I'm proud of the difference that God is making through our church, through people right here in this community. You see, that's not just her story. That's your story. That's our story. And a story like this of hope and redemption, well, that's definitely God's story.